Hi, I'm Tina Sharma. Thank you for hiring the law offices of Tina Sharma for your upcoming consultation. I wanted to go over with you some important information regarding the divorce process in Maryland. First, I want to go over with you some grounds for divorce in Maryland, the most common grounds for divorce in Maryland. So Maryland allows you to file for a limited or an absolute divorce. The processes are very similar, but the outcomes are very different. In a limited divorce, you're basically legally separated, but you won't have a full and final divorce. It still might be useful in a situation where you want the court to address issues like child support and finances before you're actually eligible for an absolute divorce. So what are the most common grounds for divorce in Maryland? One is adultery. This is a fault grounds for divorce in Maryland. So one party must be found at fault for having committed adultery. In order to prove adultery, one spouse must show evidence that their spouse had the disposition and opportunity for an extramarital relationship. 2, desertion is also a fault grounds for divorce in Maryland. In order to show desertion, you must show that your spouse has left or abandoned you for a period of at least 12 months. 1 year separation is a non-fault grounds for divorce in Maryland. It basically shows that you and your spouse have been separated for at least a period of 12 months prior to filing for divorce. Cruelty of treatment is another fault grounds for divorce in Maryland. The court may grant an absolute divorce based on cruelty of treatment if you can show that your spouse has acted in a cruel or vicious manner towards you. Mutual consent is exactly what the title implies. It is a situation where both parties have mutually consented to a divorce. It's important in a mutual consent divorce that the parties have a full separation agreement that accounts for all issues in a marriage, including child support, child custody, and property division. Next, let's talk about how property is divided during the course of a divorce in Maryland. First, we must consider marital versus non-marital property. All property obtained during the course of a marriage is considered marital property, regardless of who paid for it. The exception to this general rule is property received by one spouse as a gift, inheritance from a third party, or excluded by a specific agreement. What is non-marital property? Non-marital property is any property obtained prior to the marriage. It remains the property of the party who owned it prior to the marriage. How is property divided in the course of a divorce? It can be divided by agreement of the parties. The parties may agree on the division of any property held by them without the assistance of the court. But if they cannot come to an agreement, the court must get involved. When the court makes an equitable distribution of property, the court first determines what property belonging to the couple is marital property. It then determines the value of that property. Finally, the court determines who is entitled to what share of the valued marital property, taking into account various factors, including the economic circumstances of each spouse at the time the award is made, the circumstances and facts which contributed to the estrangement of the parties, the duration of the marriage, and the age and physical and mental conditions of the parties. Next, let's talk about child custody and child support. In Maryland, the law does not favor either the mother or the father when determining custody. If the parties cannot agree about who should have custody of the children, the court will grant custody either solely to one of the parents or shared between the parents. The law looks at the best interest of the child standard when deciding on child custody and visitation. The best interest of the child standard looks at certain factors to determine what is the best interest of the child or children. All court-ordered custody has 2 components, legal and physical. Legal custody involves the right to make long-term plans and decisions for the education, religious training, discipline, medical care, and other matters of major significance concerning a child's welfare. Physical custody involves spending time with the child and making decisions about the child's everyday needs, including where the child lives. It's important to remember that custody and visitation arrangements are never permanent. As situations change, a parent can always petition the court to modify a court order regarding custody. And regarding child support, both parents in Maryland have a legal duty to support their child based on their ability to provide that support. Maryland has specific child support guidelines, which provide a specific formula for calculation of child support based on a proportion of each parent's gross income. These guidelines are applied unless a party can show that in their specific situation it would be unfair or inappropriate to apply the guidelines. Thank you very much, and we look forward to helping you with your case.